So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
January ushered in a new era in Arizona politics. Katie Hobbs was sworn in as the first Democratic governor since 2009. At the border, the outgoing governor, Doug Ducey, ordered the removal of thousands of shipping containers he had installed. The federal government, Native American tribes, and environmentalists all protested. Critics called it an expensive stunt. The final cost to taxpayers to construct and then dismantle the container wall, more than $200 million. January also saw a number of winter storms welcomed in the high country. Though in addition to the beautiful scenery, heavy snow took down tree limbs and power lines around Pine, leaving thousands without electricity in the winter cold. Mid-month, a 3-day stretch of snow hit the high country, closing all major highways. More than 2 feet of snow fell in higher elevations around Flagstaff, closing schools there for days. Later in January, the Gila County Sheriff called the DPS helicopter to rescue a man stranded in Tonto Creek, a spot infamous for dangerous floods. They say he drove around barricades thinking he could make it in his truck.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. He's gonna come back in here. Okay. You're gonna climb in the helicopter. I'm gonna be right behind you. It's gonna be hovering. Okay.
DPS released a trooper's body cam video to remind all of us of the dangers of crossing flooded roads. And in the sports world, the Arizona Cardinals cleaned house at the start of the year.
The search has started for both the general manager and for head coach.
A day after the regular season ended, team owner Michael Bidwell fired head coach Cliff Kingsbury and confirmed the general manager Steve Keim was out too. A week later, the Cardinals brought in Monty Ossenfort as the new GM to lead the efforts to rebuild the franchise in the new year. Major sporting events dominated the month of February in Arizona. The Super Bowl and the WM Phoenix Open were both held the same week in the Valley. The influx of visitors made for the busiest day ever for Sky Harbor Airport, with 180,000 travelers passing through the Monday after those events. The Chiefs went on to beat the Eagles, but the Eagles left someone behind. The Cardinals recruited Jonathan Gannon from Philadelphia during Super Bowl week to be the team's new head coach. In Scottsdale, the WM Phoenix Open lived up to its rowdy reputation as golf's biggest party. Despite a couple of frost delays, crowds lined up to rush the gates each morning. Friday and Saturday were sold-out crowds, and Scottie Scheffler would go on to win the greatest show on grass. In the middle of all of it, the Suns stole the headlines. A new owner, Matt Ishbia, took a majority stake in the team and made a blockbuster move, bringing superstar Kevin Durant from Brooklyn to the Valley. Fans, though, split over the deal, which sent fan favorites Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Jay Crowder packing. Spring training made a comeback in February. After years of delays and restrictions from the pandemic and the baseball lockout, the Cactus League launched its first full season in 4 years. And we said goodbye to an American hero in February. Jack Holder, who survived the attack on Pearl Harbor and flew 100 missions during World War II, passed away at his home in Chandler at the age of 101. He was laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery. The month of March blew in like a lion in Arizona, with a major winter storm burying Flagstaff in more than 3 feet of snow. The storm closed 100 miles of the I-40 after a series of semis slid off, leaving drivers stuck for hours as the snow accumulated. The unusually wet winter filled Arizona's reservoirs, bringing some relief to our short-term drought. Kevin Durant officially began his career as a Phoenix Sun in March, but his highly hyped debut downtown was further delayed after he rolled his ankle during warm-ups. Also in March, the first full Cactus League season in 4 years wrapped with a spike in attendance. More than 1.6 million fans bought tickets to the 10 Valley ballparks. The Cubs averaged more than 13,000 fans a game. The D-backs averaged more than 9,000. At the state capitol in March, state lawmakers sparred over a wide range of issues from gun control to drag queens.
It's not R-rated, it's X-rated entertainment.
The Republican majority passing a series of bills which led to a record-breaking streak of vetoes from Governor Katie Hobbs. And to cap off the month of March, another round of spring storms triggered severe flooding in Camp Verde and Sedona. Weather-wise, March definitely came in like a lion, but did not go out like a lamb. In April, attention turned to two high-profile murder trials, one 3 decades in the making. The man who called himself the Zombie Hunter finally faced justice for the deaths of 2 young women killed along the Phoenix Canal in the 1990s. A judge did not buy Brian Patrick Miller's insanity plea and found him guilty. In Idaho, former Valley mom Lori Vallow faced murder and conspiracy charges for the deaths of her 2 children and her husband's ex-wife. Prosecutors say she and her new husband were part of a doomsday religious cult. 2 strange scandals unfolded at the Arizona State Capitol in April. Republican State Rep Liz Harris of Chandler was expelled by her colleagues for inviting a conspiracy theorist to testify at a hearing, leveling wild accusations about state officials taking bribes from cartels. Meanwhile, Democratic State Rep Stephanie Stahl Hamilton of Tucson was caught on camera stealing Bibles from the lawmakers' lounge, hiding them in a refrigerator and couches. Stahl Hamilton, a minister, apologized, saying she was trying to make a statement about the separation of church and state.
I'm excited about this year's season. I like the young players. They're exciting to watch. They're hungry to play.
In the sports world, on April's opening day for the Arizona Diamondbacks, fans couldn't have imagined how this season would end, especially since the D-backs just parted ways with All-Star Madison Bumgarner in April, agreeing to pay out the rest of his $34 million contract. The Valley hosted annual big spring events in April like Pat's Run, drawing 30,000 people, raising money for military scholarships.
This season, there's a lot more water.
And after an unusually wet winter, temperatures warmed and the spring melt-off filled Arizona's lakes and reservoirs. We had our first triple-digit day and not a single April shower, a preview of the brutal summer ahead. The month of May began with the tragic death of a hiker in Arizona, 29-year-old Lauren Heike, killed on a trail near Scottsdale Road in Bell. A week after her death, police say DNA and cell phone tracking led them to their suspect, Zion Teasley. On probation for other crimes, he'd been released from prison a few months prior. At the border, the pandemic-era border policy known as Title 42 expired in May. It allowed border agents to expel millions of asylum seekers for 3 years in the name of stopping the spread of COVID. In the sports world, May brought another major shakeup for the Phoenix Suns. After losing in the second round of the playoffs, the team's new owner fired head coach Monty Williams just a year after he'd been named the NBA's Coach of the Year. Meanwhile, voters in Tempe surprised the Coyotes, rejecting the team's plan to turn a landfill near Tempe-Town Lake into a massive sports and entertainment complex that would have included a new arena for the hockey team.
We have received 398 inches of snowfall, so that is a ton up here for snowball.
I honestly thought we were going to close in the beginning of May, and the fact that the snow's still out here and we're still actually going pretty fast, it's crazy.
And May closed out with the Memorial Day weekend for the history books. Arizona Snow Bowl set a new record, keeping their slopes open through Memorial Day for the first time ever, all thanks to the 5th snowiest winter on record in Flagstaff. Arizona made national headlines at the start of June with a pause on new developments in parts of the valley to preserve groundwater. The order limits ongoing rapid growth in areas on the outskirts of the valley. A black bear killed a man at this campsite near Prescott in June. This footage shows the bear before the attack, which wildlife experts say was unprovoked.
Get the bear to stop attacking him. There was honking horns, different things that they were doing. There was no success in stopping the attack.
Arizona's only had 2 other deadly bear attacks in the last 40 years. By June, the valley had gone 3 months without any rain. A brush fire sparked in Scottsdale, moving quickly and forcing evacuations near the McDowell Mountains. Firefighters and air tankers prevented any homes from burning.
Well, my wife gave me a call just stating that they're evacuating our community.
Arizona sports teams brought the drama in June. The Suns traded fan favorite Chris Paul and hired a new head coach, Frank Vogel.
This is the beginning of a new era in Phoenix Suns basketball.
In the WNBA, Brittany Griner returned to the court, but the Mercury struggled and parted ways with coach Vanessa Nygaard. And as the heat set in, snowmelt from the mountains had Lake Powell's water levels rising higher than we've seen in years by the end of the month of June. July of 2023 will be remembered as the hottest month in history here. After a cooler than normal June, the heat in July didn't just break records, it shattered them.
It feels like an oven. I've been tempted to go out and bake some cookies on my car.
Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
The heat peaked at 119 degrees on 3 separate days. For 17 straight days, we hit 115 or higher, and most overnight lows never dipped below 90 degrees.
This weekend will be some of the most serious and hot conditions we've ever seen.
The valley had never gone more than 18 days straight with highs above 110. This year, we went 31 days in a row. Firefighters battled the heat and hundreds of exploding propane tanks at a business fire near Sky Harbor. Somehow no one was hurt as the tanks launched hundreds of feet through the air.
They literally become missiles.
Really, I was most concerned for the firefighters. They were so close to it.
People who'd parked in an airport lot returned home to find their vehicles now burned out shells.
It's been really difficult to deal with.
The cause is still unclear. In the midst of the heat wave and the challenges it brought, we witnessed acts of kindness, like surprise police installing an air conditioner for 2 elderly sisters who'd been living without AC.
We appreciate everything everybody does for us.
Finally, some rain.
At the end of July, the monsoon finally brought some rain to the valley, causing some damage in Mesa.
Massive dust storms were pushing the garage door in.
By this point, it had been 4 months since we'd seen any rain at all. The valley's extreme heat continued through August, causing the icons of the Arizona desert, the saguaros, to topple. The monsoon was almost a no-show for the valley. The East Valley got a few showers, but much of the West Valley remained dry. Finally, after a 147-day stretch, Sky Harbor Airport recorded its first measurable rainfall in mid-August, but it wasn't much. Meanwhile, up in the high country, a flash flood swept through Tucson, the tourist town near the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Nearly 3 inches of rain fell in an hour, creating a river that ran through homes, hotels, and other businesses. Mid-August, Arizonans mobilized to help the people of Maui, organizing relief shipments and more after thousands on the island lost everything in devastating wildfires. In the world of college sports, both Arizona State University and the University of Arizona broke decades of tradition, bolting from the Pac-12, joining the Big 12. Then a preseason bombshell. Days before kickoff, ASU announced a ban on postseason play and bowl games for the Sun Devils.
Guys, I'm the bearer of bad news today. When I told ASU fans about this suspension, their jaws dropped.
A self-imposed punishment for alleged recruiting violations by the former coaching staff. The biggest smile of the month of August came when a missing Phoenix Fire Department search dog was found. Moxie vanished, but was found a day later swimming in the neighbor's pool. Turns out she jumped the fence to take a dip. The brutal summer even getting to professional firefighters this August. Heat records continued to fall in September as we went 55 days at or above 110 degrees. By the end of September, monsoon 2023 officially became the driest on record, with less than 0.2 of an inch of rain measured at Sky Harbor for the whole season. But the monsoon went out with a bang in part of the East Valley
and the whole room was blown apart, like it just imploded.
A major storm with 90-mile-an-hour winds flipped planes at Falcon Field in Mesa. The winds were strong enough to rip roofs off hangars, some of them historic World War II-era buildings.
It was just one heck of a storm last night that did all this damage.
Late in September, authorities seized more than 50 dogs from a woman running a rescue out of her home in Chandler, some so sick they had to be euthanized. It led to charges and calls for tighter animal cruelty laws.
We have confirmed parachute deployment.
The University of Arizona celebrated success in September, leading NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission, bringing the first asteroid samples back to Earth to investigate the origins of life and water on Earth.
How you doing there, little one?
And in an only in Arizona moment in September, a Mesa family heard a rattle in the garage and called in the experts. A rattler wrangler found 20 snakes slithering around, which were later released far out into the desert. The month of October brings in Arizona's family tradition, Paul's Car Wash, a fundraiser for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Arizona.
Working hard for the kids.
This year, volunteers washed nearly 800 cars, raising more than $200,000. In politics, history made in the House in October. A Republican revolt ousted the House Speaker for the first time in history, and Arizona had more Republicans than any other state voting for former Speaker Kevin McCarthy to lose his job. October also saw the start of a new war. A surprise attack on Israel by Hamas terrorists left Arizonans among those trapped in the early days, trying to get out. We later find out one of the youngest hostages, a 3-year-old girl, has family in Scottsdale.
We don't know how is she. If she's okay, it's heartbreaking.
3, 2, 1, engine ignition. And lift off.
Arizona State University launched a new mission with NASA in October. The goal? To explore an asteroid made of metal for the first time. Scientists believe it could tell us how Earth's core was created.
The origins of our solar system is locked into these asteroids.
The Phoenix Suns began a new era in October, opening the season with a new coach, new owner, and new players, plus changes and upgrades to the Footprint Center, and a deal to allow fans to watch the games for free on Arizona's Family. But October's sports headlines really belong to the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Literally, we are a wild card right now.
They shocked the fans and themselves.
Wouldn't say that this is what a lot of people expected.
First beating the Dodgers in the playoffs and taking a celebratory plunge in the pool at Chase Field. Then defying the odds again by beating the Phillies to land in the World Series for the first time in 22 years.
The nickname Answerbacks, bestowed upon this team early in the season, never been more fitting.
We'd have to wait to November to watch the series play out. Diamondbacks fans welcomed the team home after losing the World Series in November. Corbin Carroll was named Rookie of the Year, and the team immediately extended the contract of manager Torey Lovullo.
I want to spend the rest of my career here in Arizona. I don't want to go anywhere else.
Later in November, the city of Phoenix met a court-ordered deadline to clear the homeless camp downtown known as The Zone. At one point, 1,000 people were living in tents on the streets, until surrounding business owners got a judge to declare the camp a public nuisance. By late November, the world watched as Hamas released hostages from Gaza, one of the youngest, Abigail Edan, who has family in Arizona. Abigail turned 4 in captivity and was released to her aunt and grandmother in Israel. Arizona Snow Bowl opened for the season with a sparse covering of man-made snow in November, but long lines of skiers and snowboarders.
We've been waiting for this moment all year long, and it's here. It's good. It's great. Let's go.
The first storm of the season hit Flagstaff later in the month. Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray returned to the field in November after nearly a year recovering from an ACL injury. Still, the Cards maintained one of the worst records in the NFL. But at least this family left a game smiling after the ultimate fan experience. They found player Jesse Luketa with a flat tire and drove him to the stadium.
They got me there on time. Had a blast talking to his kids the whole way there.
And as we gathered to give thanks in November, long lines of cars wrapped around St. Mary's Food Bank, which helped feed more Arizona families this Thanksgiving than ever before.
Let's help out our fellow Arizonans.
All made possible by generous donations from the public, plus police and firefighters.
From the 493 Firefighter Foundation, I'd like to offer this check for $1,500 to Salvation Army. So thank you.
A warm way to mark the start of the holiday season. December began with the loss of an Arizona icon. Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman on the Supreme Court, passed away at the age of 93. Raised on a rural Arizona ranch, O'Connor went to Stanford Law, but law firms would not hire a woman. She turned to politics, became majority leader in the state Senate, then a judge, before the president came calling.
I will send to the Senate the nomination of Judge Sandra Day O'Connor of Arizona.
Over 24 years on the high court, O'Connor became a key swing vote on cases dealing with affirmative action, abortion, and voting rights. Her legacy includes an institute dedicated to civics education and her name on the federal courthouse and ASU's law school.
I would like it to be that I was the first woman to serve on the court and I did a decent job. I think that's a good legacy.
As more migrants crossed into southern Arizona to seek asylum in December, Customs and Border Protection made a drastic move. The Lukeville port of entry, which Arizonans use to get to the beaches of Rocky Point, closed. The officers who normally check cars at the border were diverted to go help the Border Patrol process migrants. Rocky Point's beaches emptied as detours added several hours to the drive. Business on both sides of the border ground to a halt.
Without the port of entry, that's a lot of money that we're missing out on.
The governor deployed the National Guard to help with the surge in migrants. And we were all moved in December by the kindness of a stranger. A man desperate for a kidney transplant put a sign on his truck and happened to drive into the right parking lot in Casa Grande. A woman saw it and found out she's a match.
If I can do something to help another human being, I feel like I should.
It just proves that there are good people out there.
Their surgeries are set for January.